know about Reuben Bain. I understand the thought that his arm length is not going to fit the NFL style of game. I understand that, but speed does, right? The athletic ability does, right? He was one of the top pass rushers in the country all season long, and against top SEC teams, pretty much matched up against some of the best offenses in the NFL. NCAA, I'm trying to think of what I'm going to say here, but in the NCAA, you think about what Reuben Bain brings to the table. The guy has the ability to get to the quarterback. The guy has the ability to get down low and move inside and out and use many different ways and use many different styles of his game to get to the quarterback. Now, there are teams like the Jets who could be using him in a 3-4 or if the Jets are going to play a 4-3. Now, I don't know how they're going to play it this year. Maybe they do they use the 3-4 and a 4-3 in their defense, depending on how a guy like Aaron Glenn, who obviously fell asleep a couple of times at the Combine, which was posted all over social media. And a lot of Jet fans were attacking him, especially the Jet podcasting that's been around over the last couple of weeks. And that was at Lucas Oil, said a lot of interesting things about Aaron Glenn. And a lot of people don't like Aaron Glenn, but I think Reuben Bain would be a top 5 pick no matter if his arms were long, his legs, or his feet, or his toes were small. It doesn't really matter. Speed always changes everybody's views. It always does. And him on the outside edge on any side, left or right with the New York Jets, he would be explosive. Explosive. The Combine doesn't give you the answers. It doesn't. Does anybody remember Vernon Gholston? I think everybody that is a Jet fan remembers Vernon Gholston. He dominated at the Combine. Dominated it. Strength-wise, speed-wise, everything. The guy was the best linebacker going into the draft. That's why he was drafted so high by Eric Mangini. Eric Mangini had pretty good drafts when he was there with the Jets for the 3 years that he was there. The worst first-round draft pick he ever had was Vernon Gholston. But he also drafted Darrelle Revis. He also drafted Mangold. He also drafted Ferguson. He was there for all those guys. So you go back in time and you understand what Vernon Gholston brought to the table. Combine didn't sell me anything. Shedeur Sanders was great in his pro day. He looked great. He didn't play at the Combine. He did interview at the Combine. He was absolutely embarrassing. And you hear what you heard about Mekhi Lemon. I mean, Mekhi is supposed to be the best slot receiver. Does it make him fall? I don't know. You're a receiver. You're not a quarterback. And there was a lot of clout with a guy like Shedeur Sanders because of who his father was. And Deion Sanders came out and spoke very, very highly about his son and that you'd be making a mistake if you don't draft this guy. And nobody wanted to hear Deion Sanders, and nobody wants to deal with Deion Sanders behind the scenes. And that's why a lot of teams probably decided to pass up on a guy like Shedeur. Mekhi, even if he falls, does he really fall out of the first round? Probably not. And if he does, he's an early second-round draft pick. I could see the Jets in the early second round with the Cowboys pick. If he falls out of the first round, Mekhi will be a Jet in the beginning of the first round. I can't see any teams passing up on a kid with this explosive ability. These guys do not grow on trees with the kind of speed that this guy brings to the table. As far as the offensive line, now, we've been speaking about Campbell, right? We've been speaking about the Patriots, and Campbell looked pretty good all season long. Now, in the playoffs, certain parts in certain games, he did not look good. He didn't look good against the Texans. He didn't look good in the Super Bowl. So, two dominant defenses that can get at him, and maybe it was his small arms, maybe not, because throughout the season, he played very, very well. He played consistent. So, I'm not saying Campbell is a Pro Bowler, and this year he wasn't a Pro Bowler, but can he be? Absolutely. Did anybody care that his arm length or his hands were small going into the draft? The answer would be no, because he still was a top 10 pick. He was still the top tackle drafted in this year's last year's draft. So I know everybody's looking at that and they're consistently pointing their fingers on, well, this guy can't run the 40 fast. Let's go back to Odell Beckham. Odell Beckham did not run the 40 as fast as he runs in games. I don't remember what he ran the 40, but he didn't run it like some of these other wide receivers, these speed demons. And Odell Beckham is still a top 15 pick. And look at what Odell Beckham did. Now, Odell Beckham also came out of the draft. He wasn't healthy. He had a hamstring problem. He missed 4 games early in the season with the New York Giants. And he had hamstring problems coming out of LSU. But once he stepped on a football field, you can see the dynamic player that he became. the star that he became with his ability to catch the ball with one hand, his athletic gifts that he has, and he runs routes in his first 4 years, he was as good as route runner in the NFL. And he exploded right off the paper. Did he have a great combine? No. So combines don't really sell everything about the play. It doesn't. I know everybody wants to believe it, and I think guys like Garrett Nussmeier, who kind of a lot of people thought was a 4th or 5th round draft pick as a quarterback, having the week that he had, I believe that other teams, especially NFL teams that are looking for a quarterback in the 2nd or 3rd round, maybe the Jets, could look at him as an optional quarterback that you can sit on the bench behind a veteran quarterback, and maybe you find lightning in a bottle like a Russell Wilson in the 2nd or 3rd round that falls to you, and it's a player that you can build around. Now, Nussmeier was looked at as a first-round talent last year. He decided to go back to play for Brian Kelly. Brian Kelly was an absolute bomb. LSU was a complete bomb. He was fired, and LSU's program completely fell apart. And you know who's running that program now. But Garrett Nussmeier has the arm strength. We've seen him throw a football. He's played with a lot of great players. As we all know, successful wide receivers in the NFL. In Jamar Chase, he played with him. There's another superstar player that didn't have a great season that's playing for Jacksonville that played with him in LSU. You know what I'm talking about. He played with a lot of great players in LSU. He was there for a while. I think Garrett Nussmeier is a guy that you definitely have to take a flyer on, especially what you saw. But David Bailey is an interesting positional defensive lineman. One, everybody likes him. He's big, he's strong, he's fast off the line. Does he move up in the draft because of the combine that he had? Now, he's a top 10 pick. There's no way David Bailey is falling out of the top 10. No way. There's no way. I cannot see it. But does he jump from 8 to 2 or 8 to 3 because of what he did at the combine? Maybe so. Maybe the Jets look at David Bailey as the missing piece to their defense, to Aaron Glenn's defense. I don't know. But I could tell you, having a combine like that for a player that's looked at as a top 10 pick anyways, he is definitely jumping. Definitely. Now, this is not an offensive line draft. I don't care what anybody says. Last year was an offensive line draft. This is a defensive line draft. There are 7 defensive linemen that are definitely being drafted in the top 22. Guarantee it. And I would say 5 of these guys could be game-changing edge rushers. Now, Bain is one of them. Bailey is another one. They believe Reese can be another. And he had a great combine. But the guy that really stood out for Ohio State was Sonny Styles. Because Sonny Styles, I don't know if he was looked at as an early first-round pick. Some people say that he was an early second-round pick. He jumped after the combine he had, the 43.5-inch vertical that he had. The combine of the speed, the 40-yard dash that he ran it as fast as Reese did. Does that make him better than Reese? No. But there are teams at number 5. There is a team at number 5 in the Giants, and I was speaking to Fish, and I'm sure Fish is going to have his own take on this. Sonny was the guy that was calling the plays at the line of scrimmage for the Ohio State Buckeyes. He was the leader of that defense. Reese was a one-year starter. He was the one-year superstar over there at Ohio State. Styles was there a couple of years. Now, does that make Styles better? Does that make him more athletically gifted? Maybe so. But does that make him the guy that I'm going to choose in a top 5 over the guy that everybody expects to be a top 5 pick? No. If Arvell Reese falls to the Giants are drafting Reese. I'm sorry. The Giants aren't drafting Sonny Styles if Reese is there at 5. You don't do that. You take the best guy on the board. And if you're Joe Schoen, that's what you do, because Joe Schoen's made a lot of mistakes. This wouldn't be a mistake for him. But you look at guys like Zachary Branch and D'Angelo Pons and Chris Brazzell. All these guys had good combines. All of them. And maybe this makes them jump from second to first. I don't know. And to me, even if you fall out of the first round, now you're not going to make as much money if you're a second round draft pick. You don't get that 5th-year option. It might benefit you falling into the second round, because if you're a second round draft pick, you only play 4 years, and then you could be asking for a big contract, especially if you blow up and you become the player, the star that you believe you are if you fall out of the first round. The NFL Combine, I mean, the NHL has a Combine, the NBA has a Combine, all the big sports, even baseball has a Combine now. The scouts want to see these players in an open competition, and that's what it was. Honestly, I didn't pay any attention to it. You know why? Because I hate listening to these broadcasters. They all have their own takes. They all have their own thoughts. I mean, Mel Kiper, Am I going to trust everything that comes out of Mel Kiper's mouth? Mel Kiper's an idiot, okay? How many mistakes has he made? I remember when he said Christian Hackenberg was going to be a good player in the league. We remember Christian Hackenberg? Remember Clausen? Remember him?
Yeah, he was supposed to retire, but he didn't get 15 years ago, and he didn't do it.
Every time Mel Kiper came out with his take, I wanted to throw up. And there are a lot of these guys, and I'm not taking shots at these guys. Make a living doing what they do. They all do. And they all have a sense of understanding the way the combine works and the way teams are looking for players and the way they like to draft. I don't know what the Jets are planning to do because they have a coach that's falling asleep up top. I mean, that was the big take.
That was during Bailey's stuff.
That's the big take over the whole weekend with the New York Jets is the pictures that were all over social media of Aaron Glenn falling asleep. I mean, seriously. And there were a lot of coaches over the years. I mean, Phil Jackson, he fell asleep at the NBA Combine. Remember that?
What was it with Lou Lamoriello?
Lou Lamoriello, too. Lou. It seemed Sleepy Lou. That's why I gave him the nickname Sleepy Lou. I've given a lot of people nicknames. I'm not going to give Aaron Glenn a nickname because everybody seems to have a nickname for him. I did give Robert Saleh the name Bambi. And maybe if Aaron Glenn continues doing the stupid things that he has done over the last couple of months, maybe I give him a nickname. But I'm going to believe that Aaron Glenn's going to figure things out. But again, you look at the combine, and you could go up and down on what you believe and what you see and what these players are going to be. You don't know. Because how many players have we seen in the combine not have good combines? We're not going to be good prospects. They fall to the fourth. They fall to the fifth round, and they become stars in the NFL. It happens a lot. And that's why teams like Seattle have made a living on it. Schneider has made a living on finding guys in the later rounds and turning them into superstars. He has. Don't go look at the way they've drafted over the years. The Legion of Boom have been built by former drafts pretty much in the later rounds. Look at their secondary. Witherspoon was a first-round draft pick.
Top 5 pick, yeah.
Yeah. Woolen was not. Woolen was a late-round draft pick. He was like, fourth-round draft pick?
He was a fifth-round pick, I believe, in the same draft as Sauce and Stingley.
Yeah. I mean, he found Woolen, and Woolen's going to be a highly profiled cornerback that's going to be available this offseason. He might be re-signed. I know Witherspoon is going to get signed before he does, but he's going to get paid. And their secondary is as good as any secondary in football, as they are now NFL champions. Super Bowl champions. But again, Schneider has made a living on finding guys in the later rounds. Teams have done it for many, many years. Look at Philadelphia. Look what Philly's done. They built it around the Georgia Bulldogs. But at least if you look at what they've done over the past couple of drafts, and they have one of the best GMs in all of football, is he finds players in the later rounds. He goes into the third round. He picks up picks and he trades off picks and he moves up on players that he feels that is going to fit the way they want to run their defense and the way they want to run their offense. And it's worked out. Philadelphia this past year last year had a very good draft. Now, did it show on the football field? No, you have to develop these guys. Some of these guys, it takes a couple of years to figure out how they fit to the production that they're going to bring to the team. So, again, going back to what all these guys put up, the numbers they put at the combine, how many times they put up 225 pounds? Who cares? How many push-ups they have? I mean, that's not part of the combine, but I'd like to know how many push-ups these guys could do at once. I mean, I could do 160. I mean, before my arms died down. I mean, I did it on a live show. I mean, where were we, Speedy?
Miller's Ale House.
We were at Miller's Ale House. And I was trying to find content, and I was trying to drive people to listen to our conversations. So I had a push-up contest with everybody in there.
Yep.
And some of my friends, they tried to do push-ups, and I said, I'm going to knock you all out. And I let everybody do push-ups, and I think the highest one was Justin, right? He had 83 push-ups.
Yeah, and then your friend Eric Martini let you down a little bit. I did the same amount as him.
He really let me down. How did you do as much as
I did 21. I think he did 21. So I'm like, let me see if I can at least do 21, because all the fans wanted me to do it. I'm like, yeah, right. I toughed it out.
I did 95.
I know.
And I was wearing my coat.
Yep.
I was all stiff, and I was like, I don't want to do it. But everybody was like, go ahead, Errol. And I could do push-ups. I'm pretty good at it because I do about 3,000 push-ups every single week. When you do that many, your arms are not going to give out as quick. But do you think that that's going to make me challenging? Hey, if I could beat Quentin Copels in a push-up contest, does that mean I'm going to run right past him on a football field? Not a chance in hell. How about this? If I can If I could do 160 push-ups at once, do you think Reuben Bain is not going to kill me on a football field? It doesn't matter. Listen, the 40 really stands out because if you have these wide receivers running at a 4.23 or 4.26, wow, that's sub-speed. But could they do it on a football field when the game is going on, when there's a corner taking you that can run a 40 and a 4.31? Can you do that against a corner that's sticking you the whole game? That's the question. Are you going to be able to run a route? That's the difference. Now, I know Carnell Tate did not have a very good combine. He ran it a 4.53. Let me tell you guys something. Carnell Tate, his game is not built on speed. It's about power. When you watched him play for Ohio State, his game was built on power, right? I'm sorry, not Ohio State, right?
Yeah.
It was Ohio State. Yeah, I'm thinking about Alabama too, but Alabama doesn't really...
No, their kid Williams is not eligible for next year.
Yeah. Next year. But Carnell Tate, even in the game, in a game against Miami, he showed you that he can be an explosive player. He showed you that he can play against elite defenses. Now, the only time will tell how he fits if he can stay healthy. His health is the problem as far as I'm concerned with a guy like Tate. If Carnell Tate can stay healthy, he's going to be a fine wide receiver. He's going to give you 1,300 yards. That's what you're going to go after when it comes to a first-round pick. He can score 8 to 9 touchdowns. I expect him to be that type of wide receiver. He is going to be a top 10 prospect. And if he falls out of the top 10, he will not fall out of the top 15. He will be the first wide receiver off the board.
She said she's from